but allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. On to the approval of the agenda. Any comments or questions? Any updates? We'll entertain a motion if no comments or questions.
A motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, on to delegations, Mr. Peterson.
I have no delegations. Mr. Burton's going to speak during public comment.
Excellent. All right, on to the proposed consent agenda. Any comments or questions there? Entertain a motion for that.
I'll move to go after.
I will second the proposed consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, on to public comment. Well, since you're the only one here, I'd say we allow 3 minutes, so we don't want to cut you off.
3 minutes.
You got it.
You may have some questions, okay?
We'll try it.
So questions don't count. I'm Mayor Lynn Burton, Mayor of Denver City. I specifically wanted to talk about our south of 182 development and what we're doing and what we've done and what we've accomplished. Department of Natural Resources has been a very challenging organization to work with over there. Peter's aware, he sat in on a meeting where they diligently explained that if they wanted a piece of ground for the school, yes, they would appraise it, the school district could buy it. But we have since moved them, and they wanted multiple buyers and they wanted to sell in small sections. We've successfully moved them to agreeing to sell south of 82 if we have a minimum of 2 buyers, and they'll sell the whole thing. We've worked with one of the largest land or developers in the United States on this. We met with them, or we've had a couple of meetings with them. Last meeting we had, they showed up, had their engineers with them, all their property people, their senior management. They're very interested in purchasing this whole thing. One of the agreements they have, if they purchased it, was to donate 5.9 acres to the school district, which we're going to ask the same of any other developer going over there to develop it. We have to, a couple of things that have to be put into place. We need a cultural survey done. Up to about 8 days ago, Department of Natural Resources was insistent that they handle internally with their own staff. They have now agreed to allow the city to pursue it. I've had a lot of working relationships with the Yakima Nation. I'm going to try to encourage them to do the cultural survey because it gives credibility to it with the other tribes, and that there potentially may be a couple of culturally significant areas over there. We don't know the details of it, nor do we know the approximate location, nor is DNR in telling us where they're at. They have not acquiesced to telling us about that. If I can move this along quick enough, probably we have water over there, we have the sewer line over there. The one major developer is interested in probably developing more ground over there if we can incorporate it in our growth management plan. Going eastward to the orchard, even some of the Great Vineyard ground. They made a comment about us expanding up the waistline or the water sewer line going over there up to 30 inches so they could do it. They like the potential. They've got an immediate freeway access intersection, and they have a lot of things they can do. Just on the ground that DNR is selling, is going to result in anywhere from 900 to 1,000 homes. Just so you know, this project across the street is going to be about 205 to 210 homes. Hayden Homes is about half done. They're moving very rapidly with that project. They're about half done. We start another project here shortly called Bittner. It's going to be down here just south of Ida. It's going to be about 35 homes. We have a number of duplexes proposed. I can't put an exact number on it. We also have another smaller development being proposed on 7th Street. So if you have any questions, fire away. decides where to find money.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the update. We'll certainly have more questions and wanna be
Okay, cool.
definitely involved in that.
Feel free to ask him. Please ask him. Pete's been very good.
Great.
Awesome, you know, and he was pretty excited to find out somebody's willing to at least give us some land and help us out. So,
Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
thank you.
All right, on to new business, KBA contract, Mr. Peterson.
I'm just checking. Nope, okay. Yeah, KBA contract ready for approval. I've got to say that, you know, there's been a significant amount of transition going on during our last bargain with KBA. Meaning that our Uniserv rep has literally the day we finished bargaining, the next day she retired. We have a new union president in place in Cole Walters, who's at the high school. So we've got a lot of those transitions going on. However, the work that was done, the bargaining that was done, it was a quick bargain. We had it done in 4 days, which was astounding. We also, I think, came to some pretty mutual understandings that collaboration is better. There were no hard lines drawn. And I think both parties actually accomplished what their goals were for the bargain. I think the Teachers Association was very satisfied, and I know that some of the things that we were able to negotiate in were top priorities for our principals and our district office staff. So I feel very good about this particular bargain. I feel even better that it's a 2-year bargain. So that means we get to go a full another year with the majority of the language intact. That's the first multi-year agreement that we've had with those folks since, gosh, I believe at least 2020, if not farther back. So I'm very pleased about it. I know that the board has had a chance to take a look at it, but on this one, I feel like I can wholeheartedly recommend approval of this contract. And be happy to entertain any questions you have.
I do have. In the reporting section of the overload pay where we changed that language back to old language. And see, there was a bargain, there was a trade out there, a $40,000 trade out. What did overload cost us just this last week versus what it's gonna cost us in contract?
I know that our and of course, we're talking a little bit of apples and oranges, but that's okay. Our overall total overload last year cost us $140,000. So we went back to language that we thought we were getting away from because we had a new and improved system that quite frankly didn't work nearly as well. And so I think it was a more than a fair deal to us. I think my main priority when I was looking at that specific language and the bargaining team as a whole, the overload high percentages went to very specific people. In other words, a small number of people saw a majority of the overload. This language on how it's distributed and such will make it, in my opinion, if there is overload to be paid, it will be paid out on a much wider scale. So not, I think we had maybe 11 people account for 90% of last year's overload.
And then why is that language being sunsetted after the year? Why are we not just considering the 2 years?
The sunset, and if this is not clear, the sunset was for the additional $40,000.
Oh, gotcha.
No, we just didn't want, we did not want to have to, the 40,000 was a one-time deal. And that language will go away following this 1 year.
Any other comments, questions? Well, yeah, I want to thank our staff, the district staff, for all their work on this, as well as the members of the bargaining unit for all the time that it took to both prep and do the actual negotiation behind this. So appreciate everyone's time on that. I do want to call out that I said a year ago that there's nothing about a single salary schedule that has formulation based on formal units obtained and years of experience that has any evidence of any positive impact to student outcomes. So I continue to have a problem with just straight salary schedule and no improvement on that. And we heard a year ago that maybe we'd make some progress. Now we're at a 2-year deal, which with no movement on that. So beyond that, I am appreciative of the trade-offs and the improvements that we made in certain areas and some of the language that got cleaned up and other aspects that are certainly going to be beneficial to the district. Just want to make that comment. Any other comments or questions? Yeah. We'll entertain a motion for the KBEA contract.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Name?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, on to principal agreement, Mr. Peterson.
Actually, letter B, our salary schedules, just,
Apologies.
nope, that's okay. I knew where you were going.
Yeah, salary schedules, Mr. Peterson.
So in front of you, you should have, and one of the things that I am trying to do is be very transparent with the board to make sure that you get an opportunity to see every employee's salary and to review and look and ask for your approval on it. So the salary schedules that you see are for our directors and our exempt folks. And those indicate a straight across IPD only. So a 3.7% increase that's given from the state. So there were no additional dollars given to any of those particular groups. They're non-represented groups. And there will be another non-represented one, another non-represented group in our meeting in 2 weeks. But for this particular group of directors, you will see just the standard 3.7.
But how does that affect this, the district then? As far as they're getting, because I know the secretary of the contract, they're getting 4.7. I want to ask you if you would get.
So this does not include the secretarial staff at the district office. This is, if I'm not mistaken, and I apologize because I had, here it is. This is solely the directors and IT, if I'm not mistaken, and I will find it and verify that. Correct. So you're looking only at directors, so executive director of finance, assistant finance, director of technology, all of our computer techs. No, they're on there as well. And I thought we had separated these out.
I would like to table it for the discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's my fault.
So
Yeah, we
there's-
can table
there's a
this.
Motion to table, is there a second? Any discussion?
I was just gonna say, we can bring this back, separated out. Because there have been some changes, so we'll separate this out and put it back before the board on the next agenda. Apologize.
Well, we need to vote on the motion to table, all in favor?
Aye.
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 now on to the principal agreement.
Now we go to the principal. So once again, you've got a principal's agreement in front of you, reflective of the 3.7% increase for salary. We did take off 5 days of their base contract and shifted that into optional days when they can come in during the summer. We're finding that we're getting more and more need for our people to be coming in over the summer, quite frankly. I think there's a time and a place where I could approach the board about turning those contracts into year-round 260-day contracts at some point in the future, especially if we're not able to get our current work done with the 5 days in the summer. But those are also optional, so if they're not needed, they would not be paid out.
Any other comments or questions? Entertain a motion on principal agreement.
We'll second the approval of the principals agreement.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, 24-25 fall conference calendar adjustments.
Yes. So real quick, just a slight adjustment to the year's calendar. As I talked in our agenda meeting on Friday, quite frankly, I have been in favor of this for quite some time, but we also have this nice history of simply rolling a calendar along and not making many changes to it. But the teachers proposed that we move the conference dates back from the 25th, 26th, 27th of November into the first week of November, the first full week of November. So the 6th, 7th with a no school day for conferences on the 8th. And the reason that I'm very supportive of this is one of the comments that I've heard in my 7th year here is that the conferences were getting to be so far away from the end of first quarter towards Christmas break, quite frankly, that by the time folks found out about their kids' progress, there wasn't nearly as much time for them to try and help them get their grades back up. So I'm absolutely in favor of this. Our quarter will typically end on or about the 31st of October. So this puts conferences the very following week, which in my worldview is a positive. And if you've got kids who are potentially going to be referred for summer school or other things like that, based on grades first quarter, gives them a chance to try and pick those grades up prior to the end, as close to the end of first quarter, moving into second quarter as possible. I think it's a good move.
Yeah, timing certainly makes sense to me that you provide some of that feedback and updates to the families as soon as relevant. So any other comments or questions? This says discussion. Are we voting on this today?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So in that case, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the adjustment.
I will second the approval of the 24-25 fall conference calendar adjustment.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Item D. School board member resignation. Mr. Peters.
Well, I rarely do this, but I can absolutely tell the board that I highly recommend you do not accept this resignation. All joking aside, Mr. Gonzalez has put in more than his fair share. It was not his intention, quite frankly, to stay as long as he did. But due to circumstances and not having another person step up in his area, he agreed to stay on, but he's gotten to the point where his time needs to be finished, and he's I know that there are some family plans in the works and things like that that need his attention, as well as Rosario's. So as much as I don't want to do it, I want to thank Rick for his time on the board and ask the board go ahead and accept his resignation.
Well, yeah, I certainly want to say thank you, Rick. It's been a pleasure working with you here, and as Pete just alluded to, you are given an extra 9 months beyond what you initially signed up for. So we're eminently grateful for that, but just really appreciate your insight, your wisdom in a lot of these matters that we've discussed, and always had the children in our district and the families first forefront of your mind. And so really appreciate your time, and hope you attend every meeting, just like But to see you guys sitting next to each other. All right, with that.
Okay. And if I may, just a reminder that although we're accepting Rick's resignation tonight, the actual effective day and time will be September 23rd at 9 p.m., which will be his final day of service.
Yes, and can you provide us an update on when we will be accepting applications or post that on the website?
We can get all of that information on the website most likely tomorrow.
Great. So anyone watching, please view the website and tell a friend.
Yeah.
Because I imagine the boundaries for the other open position are still on there as well.
They're still on there. I would just because I know that our Director of Communication is working with the ESD. It is the first day of school, not just for us tomorrow, but also in several other districts she works with. So she may delay that until Wednesday, but I would be surprised if we aren't able to get something up, at least the announcement that it's coming tomorrow.
And yeah, appreciate the advance notice again there, Rick. So giving us an extra month beyond what we've already committed to and done. So appreciate that. But with that, we'll entertain motions to approve this.
We'll move to approve the school board member resignation.
As much as I don't want to, but out of respect, I will second the approval of the school board member resignation.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 You abstaining or? You're voting no?
Changed his mind.
All right, policy 3241, student discipline revision.
Thank you again. So policy 3241 is a policy that we already have in place. The policy itself has undergone, I would call it a lengthening would be the best way to say it. It's gone from being about a paragraph to solid 2 pages. This is in light of some legislation that went through that made changes primarily to the procedures of policy 3241. So we're going ahead and asking the board to adopt the policy itself. Procedures will not be ready to update as they're still being reviewed by legal counsel at this time. Literally, there were some emergency rules announced from OSPI a week ago Friday. And so legal has to go through them and ensure that some of the emergency procedures they put in place before they recommend them for adoption, that they comply with the best interests of the district. So this will keep us, from a policy standpoint, keep us legal for imposition of discipline. And then we'll turn around, and once we hear from legal counsel, we'll have an adoption of the procedures as well.
Any comments, questions? Right, if not, I will entertain a motion to accept the revision.
I will motion to approve the revision for policy 3241 student discipline.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, on to item G, policy 3112, social emotional climate. First reading.
So first reading, and as you noticed, when you took a look at the revision you just adopted for 3241, we had highlighted their reference to a board policy 3112, which is before you right now. And so we didn't feel that it would be a good idea to put a policy in place that made reference to another policy that we also didn't have. As you read this policy, this really reflects the work that we have done through Character Strong and several other building endeavors to create a positive climate for students through action plans and actions taken by ASB at the secondary level and then at the elementary level. Things that will be incorporated into this include our advisory programs at both secondary schools. So while the policy itself is new, the ideas behind the policy have actually been an area of focus for the district for a number of years. This is simply putting it into policy.
Any comments or questions on the first reading of 3112? All right, with that, we'll move on to board comments.
All I want to say is I attended the staff breakfast this morning, which it was pretty good. I mean, it seemed pretty motivated, seemed ready to get going, and then some pretty good skit out there.
That's a word for it, yes.
Yeah, I did Mr. Henry, so
Agreed.
he's gonna have to bring up the game next year. Yeah, it was really good, really.
All right, superintendent's report, Pete?
Yes, and thank you again. So with that, just so we don't leave everybody hanging, Mr. Henry, of course, has had a long history of introducing his new staff members and bringing music into it and things like that. Our other three building administrators, Bruce, Lisa, and Aaron, had these, help me with what we call them. They're blow-up animal costumes of bears, of which they were riding the bears. And had a very, very appropriate dance that went along with it, as well as a lot of music, and it was a spectacle to say the least. Even Clay's jaw was on the floor a little bit. So there is plenty of video evidence that this happened, and certainly it is not bad enough that it'll get anybody in trouble, but it was outstanding, and the bar has been raised. Mr. Henry is so that he will have some retribution for next year. So something to look forward there for your calendars. But with that, Rick, thank you so much for coming. It's amazing when you have a board member or board members at events like this. The staff truly does appreciate it. I had comments of people on the way out thanking you specifically. You weren't around telling me to make sure and thank you for showing up. That was very good. So the breakfast went very well. Awesome preparation by our food service staff. The facilities, if you get a chance here in the next week or so, and they're always going to be looking as well as we can, but the maintenance staff did a fantastic job this summer. I can't recall our elementary or middle school ever looking better for the first day of school. And again, several comments made by teaching staff about the quality and cleanliness of the rooms and the building overall. And then finally, kudos to IT who got whole bunch of computers going. They're pretty much done with their summer projects and now they're just moving into during our open house time, we were issuing computers at the middle school level and now they're moving back into true student oriented work. So nice job to David and his crew. Took us right up to the last minute with certificated hiring. We got, as you saw reflected in the consent agenda, we had a last minute resignation of a counselor that we had hired last May. And we're very fortunate to be able to find a counselor looking for a position there at the elementary. So we snapped her up. So that is done. Some last minute classifieds that were late notices and that were a little late to being agreed to. We had to see where we were at with budget before we approved them. But hopefully this week we're going to finish that up. So we should be fully staffed here by the end of the week. Along those lines, we have 2 new drivers for our buses that are trained, licensed, and ready to go. Told the staff today, I can't remember the last time we actually had a surplus in bus drivers, but we do. So things, I think, in as much as possible, we're ready to go tomorrow at 7:30. So would invite any of you who would like to watch the organized chaos that is the first day of any public school, please feel free. And that's all I have, Mr. Skipper.
All right, appreciate that. With that, we'll move into executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.110. Performance of public employee not to exceed 30 minutes with no business to follow. Thank you everyone for joining.